The worst storm chasing accidents ever.
The El Reno tornado. On May 31st, 2013, 55-year-old Tim Samaras was leading his team through Canadian County, Oklahoma, tracking what would become the widest tornado ever recorded. Tim, an engineer and storm researcher, had spent over 20 years chasing tornadoes. He held the Guinness World Record for recording the greatest pressure drop ever measured inside a tornado, 100 millibars near Manchester, South Dakota, in 2003. He was known as one of the most careful chasers in the field. The National Geographic Society had awarded him 18 grants for his field research. With him that day were his 24-year-old son, Paul, who shared his father's birthday and passion for documenting nature, and 45-year-old Carl Young, a meteorologist and geology teacher who served as navigator. They called themselves TWISTEX, Tactical Weather Instrumented Sampling in Tornadoes Experiment, and their mission was to place
Yo, that's kind of a weird abbreviation to be honest. Without proper definition, you would think that it would mean something else.
specially designed probes in tornado paths to measure conditions inside. But on this day, they weren't driving Tim's usual reinforced 3/4-ton truck optimized for hail and high winds. They were in Carl's unmodified Chevrolet Cobalt, chosen to accommodate high-speed camera equipment for a lightning research project. The car had equipment, including heavy barometric probes in the trunk, and was significantly underpowered. Shortly after 6 p.m., a supercell thunderstorm developed west of El Reno. By 6:03 p.m., a tornado touched down about 8 miles west-southwest of town. The tornado grew rapidly, expanding from about 1 mile wide to 2.6 miles across in just 30 seconds. It was wrapped in heavy rain, making it nearly impossible to see its true size. As Tim, Paul, and
Yo, to be honest, what kind of people actually do these jobs, man? Because me, certainly in this situation, I will not ever chase any natural disaster. Nah, gang, I'm not doing that. I value my life. Like, heads off to these people, they're actually courageous, but sometimes that courage can be a little bit of stupidity, to be honest, in my own opinion.
Carl drove on Reuter Road among wheat fields, they believed the tornado was heading southeast. But at 6:23 p.m., the tornado made a sudden turn directly toward them, accelerating from about 20 miles per hour to 60 miles per hour in forward movement. Carl noticed the
Like, bro, the tornado is actually like a villain, you know? The fact that he said it turned straight to them, it actually makes me think like this tornado actually has a mind of its own, because how can it turn towards people who are chasing it?
rain around their vehicle had stopped, and the wind became eerily calm. Tim's voice came over the radio. Actually, I think we're in a bad spot. The vehicle was struck by a subvortex moving at 175 miles per hour within the parent tornado. The small Cobalt was lifted and thrown violently. When emergency crews found it the next morning, it was mangled beyond recognition. Tim's body was still in the driver's seat. Paul and Carl were ejected from the car, their bodies found hundreds of yards away amid a wide debris field. It was the first time professional storm chasers had been killed directly by a tornado. The El Reno tornado killed 8 people that day and injured 151 others. It remains the widest tornado ever measured with winds exceeding 313 miles per hour. Weather Channel.
Like, bro, in this situation, I don't think they did anything wrong, because like they were used to it. They were like, cool, we've been doing this for a very long time, and I think we can wing this one and get the data that we want and complete our research. But yeah, it goes to show anything can go wrong anytime, so you gotta be prepared.
Nightmare. On that same afternoon of May 31st, 2013, Weather Channel meteorologist Mike Betts was tracking the El Reno tornado just miles from the Twistex team.
There was another guy chasing the same tornado? Oh my
Betts,
god.
who had been with the Weather Channel
What's
since
with these guys?
2003, was leading the tornado hunt team. The crew included producer Austin Anderson as driver, cameraman Brad Reynolds, and 3 engineers. They traveled in a convoy of 3 vehicles along Highway 81. The vehicles included the Betts Mobile and the Bloom Mobile, named for NBC correspondent David Bloom, who died in Iraq. The team had just finished broadcasting when they believed they were at a safe distance. Betts had been tracking the visible funnel several miles back in the distance. He thought they were safe, but the tornado was much larger than it appeared and was making its deadly turn. Engineer Kevin Parrish was driving the lead
Like, bro, what's with this tornado actually making turns towards people who are chasing it?
truck when he suddenly felt it lift slightly off the ground before slamming back down. Through his
Wow.
windshield, he watched the Betts Mobile, carrying Betts, Anderson, and Reynolds, pass by him completely airborne. He estimated it was lifted 20 to 30 feet. He later described it as looking like someone had placed a spatula underneath and was flipping it like a pancake. The GM
Why are you even doing this kind of job? I know you want to do the research, but sometimes, you just gotta think of your own safety, gang. It ain't worth it, man, chasing a tornado. And this tornado is absolutely dangerous because it seems like it has a mind of its own. It's heading towards people who are chasing it, gang.
AMC Yukon crossed 2 lanes of highway, jumped the center median, crossed 2 more lanes, and disappeared from view. Parrish's truck came to rest in a ditch with its rear windows blown out. For several moments, the only sound was the deafening roar of the tornado. The radios remained silent. The Betts Mobile was thrown approximately
At least the guy in the open truck was absolutely smart. He went and hid in a ditch.
200 yards into a field. When it came to rest, the roof had collapsed inward. Austin Anderson suffered the worst injuries. The roof came down onto him, causing neck and spinal injuries, a
Oh
cracked
my God.
sternum, 5 broken ribs, and a fractured vertebra. Mike Betts sustained cuts and swallowed
I bet like that guy won't be able to move for the rest of his life. That's like surely like a death sentence, man. I cannot imagine living like that. My neck is broken. I got ribs broken. I got my spinal cord broken. I cannot move, bro. That's like the worst punishment ever. I would just pray to God, like, yo, God, I cannot live like this. You just gotta take me. You just gotta take me, man.
glass from shattered windows. He needed 3 stitches in his left hand. According to a later lawsuit filed by Anderson, an NBC engineer had disabled the SUV's airbag system before the trip, which he claimed worsened his injuries. Storm chaser Reed Timmer arrived in his Dominator vehicle. They had been chasing for KFOR-TV when they spotted the destroyed SUV. They stopped to assist along with Oklahoma Highway Patrol, but had to leave as the storm approached. All 3 survived. Anderson faced months of recovery and multiple surgeries. During the tumbling, Betts closed his eyes and felt weightless, wondering if he was dead. He saw what he described as an angelic vision of his wife Allison, whom he'd married months earlier. The experience left him with PTSD symptoms, but with support, he returned to storm chasing the following year. The
You return to storm chasing the following year. Bro, these guys don't ever give up, don't they? That's off to you, bro. He loves his job.
Texas incident. On March 28, 2017, 57-year-old Kelly Williamson and 55-year-old Randall Yarnell were racing down rural roads in the Texas Panhandle, chasing a tornado near Spur, about 55 miles southeast of Lubbock. The two were stars of the Weather Channel's Storm Wranglers and had known each other since elementary school. They worked for Stormview Live, which provided live videos for weather companies.
Okay.
Williamson had asked Yarnell to join him on the Weather Channel about 2 years earlier. They were under contract and were live streaming their chase on Facebook. But multiple storm chasers had privately expressed concerns to Weather Channel producers. Just weeks before, a chaser sent text messages warning that Williamson's driving was concerning. As evening approached, Williamson and Yarnell were speeding northbound on Farm to Market Road 1081, their Chevrolet Suburban's cruise control set near 70 miles per hour. They were unfamiliar with the area. The windshield was partially obstructed by storm tracking equipment, and they were unfamiliar with the rural road network. Meanwhile, 25-year-old Corbin Lee Jaeger was driving westbound on Farm to Market Road 2794, following the proper right-of-way. Focused on the storm, Williamson and Yarnell failed to stop at the intersection. At full speed, their Suburban blasted straight through the stop sign. The collision was catastrophic. All 3 men were killed instantly.
Like that's what I was saying, man. This obsession with chasing storms and shit actually put the one who's chasing the storm in danger and an innocent person. That's why I say like these guys that do this job, sometimes they gotta think, what's the consequence of my decision? What's the impact of my decision? You can lose your life, or in this case, make other people lose their lives too.
Williamson, not wearing his seatbelt, was ejected. Yarnell and Jaeger, both wearing seatbelts, died upon impact. The Facebook live stream
Oh my
abruptly
God, bro. R.I.P. bro.
cut out. The lawsuit filed by Jaeger's mother, 2 years later, alleged Williamson and Yarnell had a history of running stop signs and traffic lights, driving on private property, and driving off-road, all captured on film to increase the sense of danger. The lawsuit claimed the channel had knowledge of these habits, yet continued employing them, and even encouraged the recklessness by instructing them during broadcasts to capture exciting footage. Later, Jaeger's mother filed a
Yeah, I feel like nowadays with the technology advancement that we have, this gotta not be done by humans, bro. It gotta be done by like robots or AI or some shit. You just gotta reach to a point where like the law enforcement and everybody around, just gotta say like, yo, nobody's chasing storms anymore. We wanna keep everybody safe.
$125 million wrongful death lawsuit against the Weather Channel. The Lindsay shooting. On March 13th,
I was about to say this video is a scam. It's not. This one was not caused by a storm directly, but indirectly. The people who were chasing it, they ended up getting an accident because of the storm that they were chasing.
1990, Bill Miracle was doing what he'd done countless times, photographing severe weather for Oklahoma City television station KWTV. Miracle was an experienced cameraman who had spent over 30 years in the industry, working in both Hollywood and local news. He'd covered everything from police actions to fires in Oklahoma City. On this Tuesday evening, shortly after
Okay.
7 p.m., he and KWTV reporter Dave Balut were sitting in an unmarked station vehicle on a dirt road near Lindsay, Oklahoma, about 45 miles south of Oklahoma City. They were positioned to capture footage of a tornado outbreak that had produced multiple twisters. The area was rural and isolated, ideal for filming without obstructions. As they sat monitoring the storms, Miracle and Balut had no idea they were about to become victims of a crime that had nothing to do with weather. Without warning, two people suddenly approached the television van. Before either man could react, Balut heard glass breaking. A pistol shot rang out. The bullet struck Miracle directly in the chest and lodging in his right lung. He immediately
Bro.
began yelling for help. Balu, uninjured but shocked, tried to render aid while calling for emergency assistance. It quickly became apparent that Miracle and Balut had accidentally stumbled upon a drug deal. The dealers, seeing the TV van with all its equipment, had panicked and assumed they were law enforcement. They had opened fire to protect their operation. Emergency responders rushed to the scene and transported Miracle to Lindsay Hospital. The bullet had lodged in his right lung, causing serious damage and bleeding. Doctors stabilized him
Dang.
before transferring him to Baptist Medical Center in Oklahoma City. The
So he
medical team
survived?
faced a difficult decision. The bullet was embedded deep in his lung tissue. Baptist Medical Center spokesman Randy Sachs announced that despite the severity, doctors would not schedule surgery to remove it. The procedure would require opening his chest and cutting through lung tissue, and they determined the risk outweighed leaving the bullet in place. Miracle was listed in fair condition and seemed to be doing well considering he'd been shot in the chest just hours earlier. Miracle eventually made a full recovery and returned to work, though the bullet remained in his lung for life.
He was shot and they left the bullet inside his lung and he still survived. Yo, that's nothing short of a miracle, man. It's a miracle because you cannot survive with a bullet in your lung, but he did.
He would later speak to students about his experiences, emphasizing that nothing was worth risking your life. The incident remains one of
Exactly. This guy is speaking exactly my point, man. Nothing is worth risking your life for. Even this weird storm chasing obsession that these guys have, man, it's not worth like risking your life. That's why I said if I was in a position where I could make the laws, I would change them.
the most bizarre non-weather related incidents in storm chasing history. The Oklahoma students. On the late evening of April 29, 2022, three University of Oklahoma meteorology students were making the drive home after what Drake would call the best night of his life. Nicholas Nair, 20, from Denton, Texas, was behind the wheel of his 2017 Volkswagen Tiguan. In the passenger seats were Gavin Short, 19, from Grace Lake, Illinois, and Drake Brooks, 22, from Evansville, Indiana. The three had traveled north to Kansas earlier that day to chase severe weather. At 8:07 p.m., they had witnessed and filmed a small, dusty tornado about 4 miles north of Harrington, Kansas. Short posted the video to social media. For Brooks,
Okay.
it was his first tornado ever. The excitement was overwhelming. Shortly after,
Like, how can you be excited by chasing a tornado, by chasing a storm, bro? You gotta be excited for many other things, man. It's just me, I guess. Let me know you guys' opinion in the comments. Would you be excited for chasing a storm?
Brooks called his family from the road. He told his mother that this was the best night of his life. Shortly before 11:30 p.m., as they traveled south on Interstate 35 near Tonkawa, about 85 miles north of Oklahoma City, the weather turned deadly. It was raining and the roadway was wet. Nair's Volkswagen suddenly hydroplaned on the slick pavement. The SUV went off the road to the right, then came back onto the interstate. But the vehicle had become disabled and was now blocking the outside lane, unable to move. Before they could react, a southbound semi-truck traveling in the same direction crashed into the stopped Volkswagen with devastating force. All three students were instantly pinned inside the crushed vehicle beneath the semi. Emergency
Oh my
responders
God.
worked frantically for over 5 hours to extract the three young men from the wreckage.
Bro.
All three were pronounced dead at the scene. The truck driver was treated for minor injuries and released. The Minnesota
Bro, that's what I was saying, man. These things are absolutely dangerous. Hey, RP, man. I wish things would have turned out different for them because they didn't even deserve it, bro. But this goes to show you, like, whenever you're doing something, you should basically use logic and think rationally, If it was me in that car, I would tell, like, yo, bro, we need to stop. We need to park beside the road because it's absolutely wet and we cannot keep going. We gotta wait for the storm to be over or for the weather to get better, and then we gotta continue our journey. But sometimes when you are in those situations, it's hard to make like these decisions that I am like suggesting right now, because when you are in the thick of things, it's hard like to think, you know, when you're outside the situation, you always come up with reasons of like, this person should have done this. But when it's you in the situation, I will bet my life on it, you won't be able to think of those things.
Truck. On May 2022, Martha Llanos Rodriguez, a 30-year-old storm-chasing meteorologist from Mexico
This is our first female storm chaser in this video.
City, was pursuing violent weather across southwestern Minnesota with 3 colleagues from South America. Rodriguez had traveled from Mexico to pursue her passion for understanding severe thunderstorms. She was part of a team that included Diego Campos.
Let me know something, gang. Like, is it not possible to study and understand how thunderstorms work or how storms work in general without actually going out and chasing the storm?
Who was handling the driving, and 2 Chilean meteorologists. The group had been tracking severe thunderstorms across the region, carefully documenting the powerful weather systems. On this particular day, they were traveling along Interstate 90, one of the main highways cutting through southern Minnesota. The storms they had been chasing had produced extremely strong straight-line winds, including numerous downed trees and power lines scattered across roads. As evening approached and daylight faded, the team found themselves driving through the aftermath of one of these severe storm cells. Power lines had been knocked down by winds and were laying directly across the interstate lanes ahead, creating an extremely hazardous obstacle.
Crazy.
Campos, who was behind the wheel, saw the downed lines ahead and made the immediate decision to bring the vehicle to a complete stop. It was absolutely the safe choice, because power lines could still be energized with thousands of volts and posed a serious electrocution risk if driven over. The team came to a halt on Interstate 90 with their hazard lights flashing brightly to warn other drivers. But what they didn't see was the semi-trailer truck approaching rapidly from behind on the dark interstate. The truck driver, possibly unable to see the stopped vehicle in time due to poor visibility from rain and darkness, didn't slow down. The massive semi plowed directly into the back of the meteorologist's vehicle with tremendous force at highway speed. The impact was absolutely devastating. Martha Llanos Rodriguez was killed instantly in the collision. Diego Campos and the 2 Chilean meteorologists.
Bro, these things when they happen, it's like they were scripted by someone, you know. Like if you ever watched Final Destination, this is the vibe that this, you know, incidents are giving me, because you are in a safe position, flashing your hazards, you're doing everything right, and there's a truck that's coming from nowhere, boom, you know, you get killed. Like that's something out of like a horror movie, like Final Destination, gang.
Meteorologists were all injured in the violent crash. The 2 from Chile sustained painful but non-life-threatening injuries.
And bro, our first female storm chaser in this video was absolutely killed. R.I.P.
However,
man.
Bradford Barrett, an American meteorologist stationed in Chile who was traveling with them, sustained severe life-threatening injuries and required immediate emergency treatment. The storm-chasing community was absolutely devastated when news spread. Rodriguez was remembered as an exceptionally talented young meteorologist who had traveled thousands of miles to pursue her passion. Her death, coming just 2 weeks after 3 University of Oklahoma students, Drake Brooks, Nicholas Nair, and Gavin Short, had been killed in a separate hydroplaning accident while returning from a chase, sent shockwaves through the community.
How are these people not understanding the danger that's involved with chasing these storms? You either can be killed by the storm or some other weird shit can happen that's going to get you killed. It's not safe chasing these storms.
The incident highlighted one of the harsh truths that veteran chasers had long known, that despite the obvious dangers of lightning and violent tornadoes, the time spent driving on highways in poor visibility actually posed the single greatest risk. Rodriguez's tragic death brought the total number of storm-chasing fatalities during the spring season of 2022 to 4 people, making it one of the deadliest periods in storm-chasing history.
Yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and like and subscribe.